Kings lead kingdoms, and the modern day kingdom isn't your household, it's your empire. Not only your family, but your employees, it's your Rolodex, it's your connections. That's your empire, and that's the kingdom that you're set to lead as a king. You guys could be anywhere, but I'm glad that you're here. I've got to rebrand myself, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. And this is gonna help a lot of you out, depending on where you are. I became the hardcore closer because I wasn't proud of Ryan. You know, nope, I'm not on coke, just a little emotional from the tears earlier. Although it would probably help right now because it's taking a lot of energy to run this event, damn it. But anyway, I created this. Somebody one time called me the hardcore closer, and if I know anything in life, I know that if somebody gives you a cool nickname, you own that shit because the next one could stick, and the next one may not be so good. He's like, you're the hardcore closer. I'm like, yep, that's me, because the next one could have been, oh, you're Mr. Shit His Pants. You never know what's gonna happen in the future, you know? And if you try to stick to Mr. Shit His Pants in the future, I'm already the hardcore closer. You can't give me that one, I already got one. You know what I mean? So I took that as a protection mechanism. But in reality, here I am about to get online. And y'all need to hear this because this is going to be clear for a lot of you of what your assignment is in life. But I get online and I'm ashamed of Ryan Stewman. It's 2010, 2011, 2012. Ryan Stewman's got 3 failed fucking marriages. Ryan Stewman's got 2 felonies on his record. Ryan Stewman doesn't have a high school diploma. Ryan Stewman lost his successful job at the bank. He's a fucking loser. The fuck is that guy gonna coach people and teach people? The fuck is that guy gonna do? Sure, I made a little money in the mortgage market and was doing pretty good there and owned some real estate, but I just felt like this fucking loser in every area of my life, and I didn't ever want to lie. I didn't want to lie to people and pretend that I had something going on, so I just created a character. I had a guy that I met in the real estate world a long time ago that I used to do mortgages for. His name was Hoss. And Hoss had this weird thing about when it was time to call FSBOs, which if you don't know what that is, if you're a real estate agent, you call for sale by owner, that's a FSBO. People that are trying to sell their homes on their own, and you go, listen, damn it, that's insane, let me sell it for you. Try to convince them to do the logical thing, right? Which isn't always easy. And it takes a lot of no's and a lot of cold calls, and so Hoss used to put on a golf glove, and he would pick the phone with the golf glove, and he would get done with his cold calls, and he'd take the golf glove off, and I was like, hey, what's the deal with that, weirdo? He goes, hey man, this is like my superhero shit. When I put this on, I'm not Hoss Pratt, I'm Hoss the listing boss. I'm the dialing machine, baby. And I thought, this cat's got an alter ego. That's pretty cool. Later on down the road, I got all these things to be ashamed of. I create this moniker, you know, this nickname sticks with me, the hardcore closer. And I just kind of became that person, this hard outer shell. And I went all in on mortgages and sales. That's all I knew. If there's one thing you can learn today, it's only teach what you know. Don't teach what you think. Don't teach what you got an idea about. Teach from experience and what you know. The very first episode that I ever recorded a Rewire was lead on the level that you're living on, because when you try to teach people something you haven't done, you're just lying to them because you don't know. A lot of these cats out here trying to tell you how to make $1 million and this, that, and the other, and ain't touched $1 million their whole life. They're teaching just 100,000, and if they taught us how to make 100,000, we'd buy it, and it makes sense because it's coming from experience, but they try to exaggerate and lie. So I say that because I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to be honest with everybody, but I was also ashamed of my honesty. So the hardcore closer, I started hardcorecloser.com, and I started training under that moniker, and people just called me the closer or hardcore closer. I never even heard the word Ryan for a long time. My kids called me dad. The world was calling me the closer. But about 2017, 2018, like I told you briefly yesterday, I was with Keith, and he said, man, you're not the hardcore closer, you're the kingmaker. Look at all the people you've helped. Sure, you've helped them make money. And by the way, part of the problem with me being the hardcore closer was the fact that I was only teaching you how to make money because that's all I knew. And the sad part of that is money's a magnifier. You know, if you're a horrible person when you don't have money, chances are you're going to become a worse person when you do have it. And I was empowering people with money and not teaching them how to be a better person. And ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you are praying for more money right now, and you got to be a better person before you can get that money. God's doing you the favor of not giving it to you yet. I've watched people get money and cheat on their wives, or get money and start a drug habit. It's like, I got extra money, let's invest in cocaine. But who was I to tell them not to do that? Who was I to judge them because I had made all those mistakes? But one day, one person said one thing to me and it changed everything. It went from the hardcore closer tribe to Apex. It went from me thinking about just sales to how can I just be a better person and lead by example? How can I just teach people the things that I've learned to be a better person? It's funny, Wes this morning was talking about the routines that he created in prison have served him the rest of his life. And that's only been 5 years for him, but it's been almost 2 decades for me. And those routines that I created in there absolutely have served me that I never would have got on the outside. So reminds me of this story in the book of Genesis about a man named Joseph, not Jesus's stepfather or however that situation works out. I wonder if Jerry Springer's up there right now. He's like, Jesus, Mary, let's get y'all on the show. Come on, y'all sit down. I've been waiting for this moment, right? Anyway, Keith, sorry. Anyway, so there's a story in the Bible about a man named Joseph. And real quickly, Joseph, as a young man, was his father's favorite. He was sold into slavery by his brothers because they were jealous. First, they tried to kill him and feed him to a wild animal, a lion, and the lion didn't want to eat him, and so they decided to sell him to a slave trader. Slave trader takes him into town, sells him to the local governor of the state of the part of Egypt that they lived in, to a guy named Potiphar. Potiphar starts to like Joseph because Joseph makes up in his mind that wherever he's at, he's just going to come and bring excellence. He didn't do anything for his brothers to sell him. He didn't do anything to wind up in slavery. He's just going to make the most of the situation that he's in. So he's dealing with it. He's probably whistling while he's mopping the floors and all this. One night, Potiphar's wife gets jealous of Joseph and Potiphar's relationship, and she comes in and she makes a sexual proposition towards Joseph. He turns her down. She goes and says that he raped her. They throw Joseph in prison. He didn't even do anything wrong yet again. He goes to prison. He's in prison. While he's sitting in a prison cell, there's a cupbearer and a chef that come in. And I don't know what the hell a cupbearer is, but it's a word in the Bible. And a cupbearer and a chef comes in, and they're both thrown in there because the Pharaoh, which is the king of Egypt, has sentenced them to 5 days in prison because they didn't interpret his dream properly. Sound like something Biden would do, right? He made me. Anyway, so they're both sitting in prison for 5 days in the cell with Joseph, and they tell Joseph why they're there. You know what you do in prisons? You go, hey, what are you in for? So they tell Joseph why they're in prison, and he says, well, tell me the dream and I can interpret it for you. So they tell him the dream. Joseph interprets the dream. They get out of prison. They go tell the Pharaoh that they met this guy in prison named Joseph that interpreted the dream, and he's got an economic plan and that there's going to be a drought and they had better prepare for it. Joseph goes, talks to Pharaoh. Next thing you know, his proposition to Pharaoh becomes true. They were prepared for a drought, and Joseph becomes the number 2 most powerful person in Egypt. From there, one day, 7 years into this drought, one of the neighboring countries sends its representatives over to sit down at the round table and ask Joseph for help, Joseph and the Pharaoh, to help them financially. They needed grain, they needed wheat, they needed gold to be able to go on and trade through this drought because they weren't prepared. They sit down at the table. Joseph looks around and he sees that it's his brothers. And they don't recognize him because decades have passed by. And they're begging for money from him and Pharaoh, not realizing he's the same person that they sold into slavery. And before it's over with, Joseph looks at the 2 of them and he says, give them what they need. And he says, because here's the deal. What you meant for evil, God meant for good. Had he not gone through those situations, he wouldn't have become the second most powerful person in Egypt. And if you know anything about politics, number 2 is number 1. Same in our businesses, right? Number 2 is number 1. I wouldn't be anywhere without Mariana. I wouldn't be anywhere without Jose. So, that being said, the things that we have to go through in life, the struggle makes you stronger. What maybe you think is meant for evil, God's got a bigger plan and it's for good. So let's get into it. I'm gonna do a little word spin here. We're gonna talk about kings and prophets. Because I'm a king maker, if that's what I'm gonna hold myself accountable for, then we gotta talk kingdom, right? I'm building my kingdom here in North Texas and in Oklahoma. Nobody says that the king can only have one castle, right? Just like nobody says the pastor can't have a private jet. I think that guy's probably transformed about 10 million lives. It's probably important that he gets somewhere on time. Just at business or no business, just reality. So, let's talk about kings and prophets. In this case, if you take the word prophet, like people who spoke prophetically, like they predicted the future or they got words from God, that's how they looked at it in the Bible. But if you think about that today, it's the same thing. We're predicting the future. If you can predict the future right now, you can make profits in the stock market. If you can predict the future right now, you can make profits in real estate. So let's just use this word spin for fun here. Don't judge me like as if I got a typo. So kings lead kingdoms, and the modern day kingdom isn't your household, it's your empire. It's your employees, not only your family, but your employees. It's your Rolodex, it's your connections. That's your empire, and that's the kingdom that you're set to lead as a king. You see, a lot of people think, and you hear a lot of guys out there, they'll say things like the king eats first. I don't believe in that. I believe the king eats last. Every 2 weeks when I'm doing payroll, these days it's not as big a deal, but for sure years ago when we were doing payroll, I took my check last. Matter of fact, my check depended on how much I had to write everybody else's check. Any of y'all ever done that? Make some noise. I remember in 2020 when they shut the state down, me walking in, calling a company meeting and telling everybody, hey, whatever goes wrong, I'm gonna make sure that your checks are covered. If I have to sell a car, if I have to refinance my house, if I have to sell something, you guys are covered. Just keep doing your job. I'm not gonna let you fall victim to this stuff. I got you, because that's what kings do. Because as a king, if I need those people to storm and raid another kingdom with me down the road, and I didn't stand by them when they needed me, how the can I expect them to cross the moat into the next castle? See, people think the king has to have a big ego. The king has to be all about him or her. In this case, ladies are kings too. But it has to be all about him or her. But the truth is, it's about the kingdom. The king's best interest is in the kingdom, not the king itself. The king is a working part of the kingdom, an important part of the kingdom, but the king has to have the kingdom in mind first, because kings lead kingdoms. Prophets, on the other hand, different personality, they make the money. You see, the prophet's job is to be the person that brings the provision and the treasury into the kingdom. In most of our businesses, for me, the prophets would be Zach and Drewby and Blake and Taylor. These are the guys that go out and bring the money into the kingdom. It would be my business partners that go out and bring the money, the profits, into the kingdom. And sometimes we can be both. We can be a king and a prophet, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You're probably servicing on the back end and selling on the front end. I know Wes Watson still does this. I have scaled past that, thank God, because I don't have the love that he has for the job yet, because I've been doing it longer. But I used to do that. Text people, get on the phone with them, close them, hang up, call them right back, do the walkthrough with them, hang up, call them right back for the first coaching call. It was like chief bottle washer, cook, and everything. I had to be the king and the prophet. But as soon as I could find the right prophets to put in my kingdom, it allowed me to do more king shit. You guys with me on this? See, too many of you get stuck doing prophet shit, therefore you never build a kingdom. If I was still the hardcore closer, if I was still the top salesperson in my company, guess what I'm always gonna be? The top salesperson in my company. That's my job forever. See, if you're building a kingdom, you've also got to eventually pass that kingdom down. And I meant to mention this earlier. The word profit means increase. So it's not just about money, it's about increase, it's about growth, increasing the value of the kingdom. So here's the thing though about the king. The kingdom gets passed down to a prince or to a queen, to a princess. We just saw that happen in the UK a few months ago for the first time in a long time. But the person that took over, Prince Charles, whatever his name is, he's been groomed his entire life to fill that number 2 spot. I thought it was absolutely brilliant what Derek said up here about setting up SOPs, training somebody up so that when you exit, they're in your spot. That was absolutely brilliant. See, a lot of people, they never sell their business, or when they sell their business, they get stuck working for someone who now owns the business that they built because they never took the time to invest in, they never dropped their ego, they never really loved on and led the right person who could replace them. If I was ever to sell one of my companies, I don't want to go with it. It's your problem now. It was my baby for a long time, it's yours now. I don't want to be like, okay, now I got to rely on you for a paycheck. That's not the way that I want it. Doesn't say that that's wrong, but that's not the way that I want it. I want to be able to hand the kingdom down as well. Maybe not to my children, maybe to my children, maybe to the people that I have right now, but it's my job to raise up other kings who start out oftentimes as prophets to run the kingdom. So here's the great thing though. When the king and the prophet get together, they become unstoppable. You see, it says in the Bible, if one person can put 10 to flight, 2 people can put 10,000 to flight. What that means, I'll give you a prime example, is if you take a draft horse, which is like basically a Clydesdale, it's a big horse. I'm a rancher now, so we're gonna talk some of this shit sometimes. So I'm gonna wear boots tomorrow up here. Got me some good ostrich boots, although I don't own any ostrich. A draft horse can pull somewhere around 2,500 pounds, one horse. But if you put 2 together, they pull 12 to 13,000 pounds. You would think by logic they would pull 4,000 or 5,000, but that's the power of 2 or more. So when you put a kingdom-minded person and you put a king in place and you put prophet in place with them, they become an unstoppable pair. One of them goes and gets the money, the other one has the best interest of the kingdom in mind. Now let's turn this into your business, okay? The CEO's job, contrary to a lot of belief in America these days, the CEO's job is to protect the business. It's the kingdom. The CEO is the modern day king. The business is the kingdom. The CEO's job is to have the business first mentality. And you see that sometimes with publicly traded companies where they're held highly accountable and they have a board of directors and everything else. But I've also, over the last few years, and I bet a bunch of you have too, you've seen a lot of people not treat the members of their kingdom properly. You've seen a lot of people keep secrets from the people on their team so that people aren't clear with what their instructions are or what their role is, and their kingdom never advances because they're not connecting with the other people on the level that they should and leading them. So how to make a profit? A prophet is someone who can go get money. So if you're a king and you're trying to build a business, you're the CEO of a company and you're trying to build this company. The prophet is the person that goes and gets you money. So right now I haven't done sales training, like public sales training or offered sales coaching or anything. That was an impromptu thing that my wife came up with last minute this morning, which was actually fun. Thank you guys for participating in that. But that was something that we just did on the fly because she said it was fun back then. But in reality, I don't do the sales training anymore. But I train my sales guys every week because they're prophets and I want them to go become better. I had a gentleman in my office the other day. He runs a huge solar operation. He was speaking downstairs at a conference and he was sitting in my chair. And he said, man, I'm thinking about starting a mastermind, Ryan. I think I can use it. He goes, if I have a cheap mastermind, then I can use it to recruit solar reps because I can get to know them through the mastermind. What do you think about that? And I said, what do you think about charging, homie? He says, I don't know, a couple $100 a month maybe. Now, mind you, this guy's super rich, big business, 9-figure exit recently. And I said, so a couple $100 a month, huh? So you're willing to train your competition to compete against you for a couple $100 a month. Let me ask you a question. The people that you don't recruit, they end up with your competition with the same information that you have internally. So let me ask you a question. If you were to spend that same amount of time with your existing sales reps, how much would they make you a month? You're gonna spend an hour on a phone call with a stranger for $200 a month on a coaching call or whatever that price is. What if you leaned on your own profits, your own sales team, and you spend an hour one-on-one with each one of your salespeople? How much more would they make a month? 20, 30, $50,000? I don't know anybody paying 50 grand a month in a mastermind. Oh, but see, most people, they never help their people. They never get to that level because they're always chasing that next thing. That's what the force of average does to us. It distracts us. Your number one enemy on this planet is the force of average. And in the book, Art of War, it says, know your enemy and know your enemy's weapon of choice. The force of average's weapon of choice is distractions. A lot of people, they think they want to go do this or that or branch out here and there, but the grass is greener where you water it. If you lean in and you step in with your own people, they're only going to become better. Every single person that stepped foot backstage, that's come through here, that's been a part of this, from the people that are cleaning the stadium here, that are event staff, to the speakers, to the security, everybody that's come back here, they've all asked me, every single one of them have asked me the same question. Man, how do you have such a well-run organization? I said, because I lean in on them. I pour into them. I work with them, I communicate with them, I talk to them. It's an us thing, a team thing. A lot of people say they want to have teams, then they never go hang out with their people. These are folks that come over to my house, my employees. They come over to my house for dinner. They drive my cars sometimes. They go and they help me on the ranch. You know, last Monday on Memorial Day, these folks could have been anywhere in the world. They fucking work with me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because we don't have office hours. We are available across the world at all times for what we do, no matter which company, whether it's Apex, phone sites, it doesn't matter. We are all like that. This is a lifestyle, not a job. And guess where they choose to be on Monday with us? At the ranch, barbecuing. They could be anywhere, but they chose to be with us because it doesn't feel like a job. Because when you lean in with your people, you make them profits. You make them profitable, and you get a well-ran organization. I watch too many people. They ignore their employees. They ignore building the culture there, and the force of average gets them distracted, and they go think, oh, hey, if I just go start this, I'll go make some more money. If I just go start this, I'll make some more money. The biggest thing that I've learned in the last 90 days, I want to share with you guys. This will fall over some people's heads, but it'll make sense to the players in the room. And this was a big breakthrough in business for me, and this is kingdom-minded right here. This is how kings think. So I have this friend, and luckily for me, I have a bunch of friends in this situation right now. It's no coincidence, I'm guessing. But I have a friend who just did another totally two different people I'm talking about here, who just did another 9-figure exit. And this friend that did a 9-figure exit bought into a private equity firm that did the exit with to build a bigger portfolio to move on and resell the company at an even higher price, right? Long story short, in order to do that, you have to go sell your company to a private equity company. So you have to have a pitch book, you have to have all the documents and all this other stuff. So this person, 2 weeks ago, spent 5 days in a row at 5 or 6 different meetings with companies between $50 and $150 billion in assets, offering them to buy his company for somewhere around $1 billion, okay? So as soon as he gets back from the last meeting, he looks on his calendar, and my ass is there with a lunch appointment. I got questions. I want to fucking know, right? Sitting down, I'm asking him questions. He's teaching me a few things, and he's telling me how they're going out there and acquiring companies. And I'm about to share something with the kings in the building that's going to blow your mind, because it's the biggest business breakthrough that I've had, period. He's talking about how they buy his company and package them up and everything else. A lot of us CEOs, we think we need more money, and we think that we got to figure out, hey, I need more salespeople, or maybe I need to run more ads, or maybe I need more market share, or maybe I need this, that, and the other. We always look at these little things that'll make us a few more dollars. If I go get another sales guy, that'll make me some more money. If I go run ads in another marketplace, that'll go make me money. But you know what's gonna make kings money right now in a recession? See, a lot of people buy into that shit. I don't buy into it, but a lot of people do. But here's how you're gonna make your money. Right now, you just eat up other companies. See, too many of us want to go run another ad, go hire another salesperson. Why not just acquire another business? They've already got salespeople. They've already got staff. You can just get rid of the staff that you don't need, put your systems in place there, and now whatever their value is, pair with your value, and you're moving forward. You think, okay, that sounds easy, Ryan, so how's that going to work? You know how it's going to work right now? There's a bunch of people struggling that need help. And if you go pick your profits up, because that's what kings do, then you pick them up and say, hey man, you've got a good operation. We can make it better if we partner up. Come with us. And now you're not having to run a bigger ad. You're not having to go train you're not having to go train more sales staff. You're acquiring a whole ass company. Let's say that you're doing $10 million a year in your company, whatever it is. Go pick up $1 million companies that want to get to 8 figures. Hey, I'll help you get where I'm at. Let's say you're doing $25 million a year. Go pick up companies that are doing $5 million a year and tell them you can help them get to 10. Lead on the level that you're on. But think, maybe years ago, if somebody would have came to you that was 5, 10, 6 steps ahead of you, maybe you would have signed up with them. Maybe not in good times, but right now, people need help. They need direction. And you have the ability to go eat up market share without having to go individually find people. It's a lot easier for me to acquire a $5 million a year company than for me to go find $5 more million worth of business in my own marketplace. Make sense? That's how kings have to think. That's what I do. I make kings. I have a long line of them. I'm not the type of person to be on social media and brag about my clients. I used to do that years ago, and then they started getting bombarded with messages, and I felt bad for them, so I stopped tagging people. So if you ever tag me in a post or anything like that, or you wonder why I don't share your shit or whatever the case may be, I'm doing you a favor, trust me. Because it's never the fucking people you want to talk to, right? You think, oh, if Ryan shares my shit, all the cool people are gonna know. No, the cool people are busy. It's always the time vampires, right? So I'm doing you a favor. It is. But I make kings because I hold people accountable for their actions. I said this a couple of weeks ago on Instagram. It's like if you watch me with somebody, or rather somebody with me for a little while, and then you see them disappear from my life, I'm not mad at them. I don't need to shout them out or get mad or yell at them on social media or anything like that. It's just I have a standard. And if we're gonna do kingdom shit, we can't do poor guy on the street corner shit. If we're gonna do kingdom stuff together, if we're gonna think big, we can't act small. If we're gonna, everybody always says that shit all the time. Hey man, we're gonna go do big shit. You wanna go have a drink at the bar? It's big about that. Any fucking idiot in America can do that. Big shit. Let's go build something together. How can we do an affiliate deal on phone sites where you can hit your list up? You know, I'm starting a dog food company. We launch next month. Me and a gentleman named Stephen McBee. And we started a dog food company, and immediately, because of our Rolodex, we have a guy in Apex who does a substantial amount of pet urine removal. It's a company called My Pet Pede. He's probably here somewhere, and Jared. And so mypetpede.com, and it's stain removal for dogs. So immediately we set up a company for dog food. Stephen McBee and I, who has a bunch of cattle, I'm able to hit up Jarek immediately and say, hey man, you got the plug. Joshua Wilson, who's here as well, he has 15, 16 franchises of dog training places, maybe more than that. Sorry if I shorted you. Maybe more than that, but he has a whole bunch of dog training franchises, the same thing. Hey, can we sell these into your stores? The reason why I say that is because, man, when you get around a bunch of kings and you get around the right people in the kingdom, you can make the right things happen. There's some amazing people in this room, and I hope over the last day and a half, we're almost done, but I hope over the last day and a half that you've connected with somebody you didn't know. The tendency to come, just by the way, the tendency to enter a kingdom and walk around something like this is to go hang out with somebody you already know. People you already know should already be giving you business. Go meet a stranger tonight. We're gonna get out of here earlier tonight than we did last night. So there's somebody here that can go to dinner with you. There's somebody here that can go have coffee and y'all go do big things. Big things ain't going and getting drunk. big things. And I'm not against drinking. I'm not like Wes. Wes doesn't drink at all. I occasionally do. Got no problem with it. But that's not my idea of doing something big. Going to a football game that anybody in America can afford a ticket to is not something big for me. Man, let's sit down and blueprint something out. Let's figure out how we can do something. Just like when I met my friend for lunch, it wasn't just, hey man, let's have hamburgers. It was like, would you mind spending an hour and a half or so with me talking to me about how this whole private equity thing works? Because one day I would like for that to be my future too. And since you have something I want, would you be willing to impart into me so that I can learn that, and I'll do whatever you need from me? That's the big shit when you get together. You guys with me on this?